Record now. Okay, guys. All right. So, like I was just telling my class before we hit record, we're going to kind of use this session as a Q and A from the last 3 or 4 sessions, but I have been told by my guidance that we can go a little bit deeper into some of the more uncomfortable places. I lost 4 followers last week, so good, right? And I love it because it's like I am not doing this for any sort of business. Like, I don't care who watches. I'm going to speak it, and whoever needs to see it, whoever needs to not see it, there's no more like this other Jess that's like, how do I build a business online? I don't care. Especially when I know where the world is going to be this time next year. The last thing in the world that I want to do is try to figure out how to market myself or like get more followers after, what I have been exposed to as far as like the next scenes that are unfolding. So if you're here, you're supposed to be here. If you're not supposed to be here. And you know, like I said, most of the time I'm talking to myself, and as long as there's one other person there, then I guess Jesus is with us. So we're gonna get going here, and we're gonna knock it out. So the first thing I want to do is I really want the ones that are paying attention, okay, to understand that your consent is happening on levels that you have no idea when your soul is fragmented, okay? Which means that this part of you is like, I do not consent. But you might actually still be a flicker and not a flame yet. Okay, so we're going to kind of go into the difference between like what a spark is versus a flame. And I will tell you, you become a flame through spiritual warfare. You don't just wake up one day and you're like, I'm a flame. No, you are going to become a flame through your fragmented soul and you not giving up on it. That's how you're going to become a flame. So this is what I mean. We're going to separate the sparks from the flames in these coming months. Okay. So first of all, I want you really I want you to fully acknowledge something. I think a lot of you are still playing in linear time where you think, oh, we have until this time next year to decide. But and I told you this probably maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and I probably reminded you, is that we don't die this time physically because they figured out a way for us to be reset without losing the physical vessel this time. And that's the only reason we're not dying. But it is also part of a secular plan. Remember how I said everything is scripted? So let's go back a little bit here. If you looked over the Hopi prophecy that I shared, it's like a shortened version, just to kind of like go over everything that is like coming to pass right now. That is including the white buffalo baby that has been born. Right? I mean, that's like in the prophecy. It's also in the Sophia Dragon Tribe books. Okay, so we're here. We've arrived. There's proof in the physical that these things are manifesting. So the first the first reset, and again, there's been a million resets, but in this particular game sequence, okay, so just like you could say this game has 5 levels, all right, like any video game, this game has 10 levels. Well, okay, we are approaching the 5th level of this particular game. All right, it is the same game, but it's the 5th level of this game. The first level of this particular game was a flood, water. Okay. The second one was fire. Okay. The third one was the mud flood, ground, which means that they actually destroyed the population from the sound underneath and the mud came. So where would we be if we were playing out the elemental game right now? The air. So you are actually in the middle of a flood. You are in the middle of the flood, but your body doesn't die this time because it's a signal flood. You are being drowned currently through signal. Okay. Every notification is like a snap in hypnosis. Boom. Every ding, every time the oven beeps, all your smart technology, your smartphone's flickering lights, okay? Whatever other smart tech you have. Then you walk outside and the cross shaped electrical poles are pulsing signal, okay? So it's not just in your house, it's in the air, okay? So your drowning will happen through hypnosis of signal. And again, that's why I've been saying, get your ass in nature, meditate without tech, start doing handwritten notes again, like all of these things are going to help you break the signal, because the thing is you could be completely inundated in signal right now and still think you're a light worker and still think you're helping people. You're not going to be aware of it. The only way you're going to be aware that you're drowning is if you feel like you're drowning. The only way that you're going to wake up in the signal is for you to feel like something's off. But if you're playing with the signal, you're going digital and you're still going to be you. You're still going to be that giver. You're still going to be that light worker. You're still going to be developing classes. You're still going to be studying. You're still going to be seeking. But you're going to be doing it through the signal that is not source. It is system and server. And you may not know at all because your heart is in the right place. Okay? You're not working for darkness. You haven't signed up for their squad. You're just caught in the signal and you will drown your own soul in the process. Because here's the thing, your heart's not going to drown, but your soul will. And slowly, that spark will turn into a flicker, and then it will be like the pilot light, and it'll take you 26,000 years to get it back, because this game is 26,000 years. Now, does that scare you? I hope it does. I mean, you guys, you've got to wake up. And I don't mean you, I mean collectively. Okay? Because I have sessions with you guys and I'm like, I get off the phone with you and I'm like, because I can feel that you like, I'm here, and you're fragmented. Like, if I had to tell you every day what it takes for me to not become fragmented, and I don't live a techie life, I don't have smart stuff. Like, I've actually put like blankets over my smart TVs now. I'm in the process of covering up endless mirrors because everything is a signal. So, do you guys remember, some of you who are younger than, 50s and maybe 40s? Well, we grew up with like the base ghetto TVs, right? That had like 3 stations. And who remembers what would happen if your favorite show started to go out? One of the kids would be sent up to the TV with an aluminum foil antenna, and you'd have to hold it and make the program work when there was only like 3 channels. Okay. Some of you remember, some of you are like, what? That's how we rolled. Okay. And you had like 3, 4 channels. And so you didn't want to miss your programming. Okay. Your body has become the aluminum antenna with the metal. And you can only get 3 or 4 channels, even though you think you have access to infinite potentials. You can't get past the programming that the signal is providing. And the elites are not just signaling for, zombies. They want your light too. They want flickers. They want flames that are scattered across timelines. They're not going to say no to you. So they're going to provide a program out in their signal where you think that you're actually helping people and doing the right thing. And you could get completely lost. This is why I said you can't trust spirit right now. So if you are channeling as a medium right now, I would be very careful of the spirit world, because the spirit world has been hacked into, and all of our favorite ETs all have counterpoints, which means if there's two Trumps, there's two sets of Palladians. Okay. If there's two Elon Musks, right? Because we got dual timelines happening, pick a team, then we got two sets of grays and we got two sets of Arcturians. And so how do you know who you're talking to? And this is why, like, if you look at the prophecy, it's all about grounding in nature, because you can trust the fire. You can trust the water. You can trust the ground, and you can trust the air that you breathe. You as the fifth element, the ether. So if we were going to look at the fifth world begins in the Hopi prophecy, the fifth world is ether, which means you have to become an ether being. You have to become ether again, which means you have to be the spirit. You are not channeling a spirit, you're becoming source. And then you will control the elements, you see? And so, and again, some of you are going to be like, well, this digital thing doesn't sound that bad, because you won't even know what's happening. It's not going to be like you're going to be aware, but how did we feel during COVID when we lost our freedom? How did we feel when we were forced the vaccine that most of us didn't take? Well, imagine if you could see the timeline that the elites have for 2027. You have a lot of freedom right now that you will not have by 2030 at all. They have a very strict set of outlines for the new timeline that's going digital, okay, or that they are going towards the signal. Okay, so what that means is that this is the flood and your body is the ark. Your nervous system is your Noah's ark. You can't have holes. You can't be bleeding energy. You can't be fragmented, or you will drown. Okay? It is 100% your nervous system that creates and keeps your vessel floating. Okay? And you have everything you need inside of you, 2 by 2. All right? You've got everything that you need. And I've been saying this forever. You don't need anything outside of you. Okay? But if you are still like studying gene codes or studying that, that's the signal. That's the signal that says you need more training before you're enlightened. The best thing that you could do is go sit under a tree and actually start to begin to speak to the tree, because the tree knows what's coming. The animals know what's coming because it's already coming. You see, it's not like the flood is going to happen next year. We're already in the flood, and it's going to take 1 year. Basically, it's been process of the last, probably since 2012, this began. It's going to take 1 more year for us to either fully drown in the signal or float and become the ether being. Okay. And that is a very harsh truth, but I would rather die on one of the sides with me knowing that I shared this, instead of doing the sugar coating spiritual bypassing that I can see a lot of teachers. There's a lot of teachers out there just talking about what the Palladians have to say right now. Do you really care? Because you don't know who's who. This is why I stopped channeling spirit. I remember the day I was sitting there and I was like, let me go to my guide. I was like, this doesn't feel like source. I feel a tingling in my head, but not my belly. And then I was like, who am I talking to? And it kind of freaked me out, because it takes no effort for me at all to channel. And if I was really caught up in the signal at that point, I would have had no idea that I was actually getting you guys ready for the wrong Palladians. Okay, I would have had no idea. But see, for the past 3 years, I have been pulling plugs of the puppet strings from this collective with spiritual warfare. But hey, it's been boot camp, kind of like Navy SEAL training, if you're actually going through the spiritual warfare, it feels like Navy SEAL training. There's a lot of breathing, there's a lot of holding your breath, and there's a lot of going against the current. And that's what it's going to take, because even though I was teaching, I was a flicker, and it's turning into a flame. And that flame is sovereign. That flame can burn down the grid. That flame will burn lies out. That flame will keep predators away. You see, so if you have a purpose right now that doesn't involve you becoming whole, you've connected to the signal. And now you're trying to work to find your level of success in the server. So my question for you guys, and this is a kind of a grounding question, just like the last time. What is your definition of success? Does anybody want to share? If nobody's brave enough to share, you don't have to. But like right now, with where we are as a collective in the middle of the flood, right? What is your definition of success? Does anybody want to share?
Knowing that I came here to lead by example, doing my own inner work, connecting with Creator, sharing the message, because that came through really loud and clear this week. The more that I continue to make that connection, it's like that, those attacks were coming in. But as soon as I called in my dragon,
Yeah,
Pompeo,
heck yeah.
I like this morning I saw her eyes. I connected with her. I know she is me.
She is you, yeah.
Yes. And just continue to like even putting into practice, what you had mentioned in the last class. I do not consent, and I am source by source. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I had to say that. Like that came in at the perfect time, the perfect hour, being on this bat channel, because it's like it's as things are growing and I'm growing, it's intensified. But soon as I say that, and even if I have to say it 5 times, then it finally goes away.
And the thing is I'm going to share with you guys a little brief reason why it might take you 5 times, and a little tweak where it becomes one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because authority is going to happen on 3 planes, not one. All right. And we're going to go a little bit into consent more today. I'll give you guys the cheat sheet. The other class is going to get the entire debriefing and the entire spell breaks, because they happen on 3 levels, guys. That you cannot just spell break or change your mind from the signal that actually has you locked from 3 different points. Remember, everything is a trinity. In order for you to get hooked to a signal, you have to be hooked by 3 points in order for them to have ownership of you. And that word ship is going to be important in a minute. Okay. So spiritual hooks. Okay. That's going to be the signal itself. Okay. What the signal does to you emotionally, who you are in your presence, how you stand, how you speak. That's your emotional connection. And then the physical element of non-consent has to be there as well, which means you can't just be like, I don't consent to that, or I don't consent to that. You see, it's like that's kind of this kind of like wet noodle middle emotion, and it's not going to scare a parasite. Okay. And so as soon as you bring your dragon in, though, you change your state of being, because you feel the power, you feel the breath, you feel the fire. So the dragon symbology is the breath, the fire, the power, the authority. All right. So that's why when you bring in the dragon energy, your state of being changes. And now you have protection, guidance, and you also remember your authority when that dragon presence is there. Okay. Especially for divine feminine. Okay. So you see how, like, when you're like, I do not consent, but then you bring in your dragon, it's like, all of a sudden you're a superhero. And because that's essential. Remember I said the spiritual war is happening up here and it's raining down through the emotional field and it's landing. Okay. Our power is in the emotion. All right. Your power is in how you emotionally tone something. It's just like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. We all know as parents or pet owners, we have a tone. Okay. And that tone switches from, I'm trying to help you, to I have authority. So if you don't have a strong signal of your own, you are not going to have a strong emotional tone to change your consent. Right. And so hopefully that helps, and it ties together what you were doing organically, Anne. But if you want to say it just once, then you get into the state of being of your signal. So this signal is what's drowning you right now, but source is one signal. So we don't channel spirit no more. We channel source. Okay. And yeah, you can call in your dragon and you can use the elements of nature. Okay. You can call in Tiamat. You can call in anything that has to do with earth, because that's your mama bear right now. And that's organic and real. So offerings that would be physical would be the elements that rebuke parasitic mimic energy. Okay. Fire, water, right? Salt, herbs, oils, using these in collation with your tone is spirit. I see what you're doing. I do not consent, emotion, and here's my firewall, physical. Because then you're actually breaking the 3 puppet strings, spiritual, emotional, physical, that you didn't even know you were under. And so that's just a piece. And again, for the other deep class, we have, I don't know, 58, 60 spell breaks for you guys right now that you say in a certain tone, with a state of being, with your hands a certain way, with a bowl of salt water, with this particular herb, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? There's a morphic field attached to spell break. Okay. But for you guys that are DIYers, you guys need to just realize that you're not going to just be able to cut it off with your flicker unless you've become a flame. And if you've become a flame, it's because the spiritual warfare has been boot camping you into a warrior. Okay. And then your flame is your authority. Like I said last week, and I was not joking, I am not afraid anymore. I'm just getting pissed off. Okay. So the authority of, oh my God, why is this happening? Where's my spirit guides? Like, why isn't this over yet? To, you better stop or I'm going to turn into fire. Like, that's how I feel now. Right. But it has taken poke, money, time, health, kids, everything that they possibly could poke to get me, like, to break all my charges, bring all my fragments home. Because here's the thing, they can only poke where you're fragmented. That's a clue. It will not hurt unless you're fragmented. Because what they're doing is they're going, you're saying you're a flame, but this part of you's over here. This part of you's over here. Okay. This part is over here, and you actually signed a contract with us over here. We have a blood oath over here. So that's where we get to poke, because that's where we have authority, that you signed the name on the dotted line when you were desperate for money in the astral one night. You don't know. Okay. So wherever you're fragmented is contracted, or you'd been able to call it in. So whatever you're still missing, okay, anything you're still missing that you should have as part of your necessary, like, human needs is contracted somewhere. Okay. You could have given up, like, some sort of, you could have taken a poverty right, like, 2 lifetimes ago. Okay. You don't know. All you know is you don't have it. So where is it? Someone else has the deed to that part of you. Okay? And in the Decode the Mirror class, I'm going to show you how to create representations of each of those things and put them in a circle and one by one break each agreement. Because then within overnight, you'll turn into a flame. The only reason that you're sparking is because part of your light is under contract with the system somewhere. Okay? So let's talk about the two types of spiritual warfare that will also keep light workers and people like us under hypnosis unconsciously. Okay? Because, hey, guys, one of the great things about shadow and light is as soon as you make the unconscious conscious, there's a lot of light that returns to that shadow. So it's going to become easier for you guys once somebody points it out. And that's why I said, like, even me going through hell and showing you the easy button, I'm not showing you the easy button. I'm just showing you the light inside the shadow now. And now it's not so scary. Okay. Before it was shadow and now there's light in it. Okay. So the two types of spiritual warfare that would be in your shadow are now going to be in your light after I explain them. Number one is let's look at your language. Your language will get you to consent to this signal unconsciously. And it is by no means deliberate. It will be 100% unconsciously because you were trained in what's called the alphabet. First of all, let's look at that word. Alpha means beginning. Bet means to bait. So the entire language was written to bait the beginnings. You, because this is the new beginning. And we still have the crappy English language. Okay? So now let's look at the word success. When you think of that word, you think of striving towards excellence. Okay. Do you know what that word actually means? Again, dyslexic, why I turn words back and forth and read from the back and speak words that are gibberish sometimes. You guys are used to it, but it's a gift. Okay. And if you look at the word success and you break it up in the middle, it means to suck the seed. Every ounce of your programming to succeed in the signal, in the system, comes from the word succubus, to suck the seed. What have we been striving for? To get our seeds sucked. Pretty crap. But this is why I love decoding the etymology of language, because the words that you speak are permission. And that's why I'm like, where are you getting to? There's nothing to succeed. And literally, if you fail in every way in the system, you win. If you go dead broke, you win, because there's less debt with the system. You see? So you have to understand that your language is going to entrap you if you don't have the flame. And if you have the flame, you'll start to see these words different. Okay? Let's look at the next word that's going to entrap the light workers, and that is worship. So when our DNA was genetically modified, all right, we had 12 strands of DNA. We had, instead of, ribs, we had wings. We were probably pretty cool looking. And then they shortened them down to 2 strands of DNA. So basically we could be like, I want to eat and procreate. Basically like a little bit more evolved than, animals. Okay. And then on the cap of the DNA, they created a false genetic code called the worship gene. Okay. And every human has it. And it is our impulsive instinct to worship something or someone. You've been obsessed with someone in your life. Okay. You've let money be the worship point. So if you look at worship, I want you to look at anything that you go to be whole, safe, loved. Okay. So it's your light. It's the first light you choose to go outside of you is what you worship. But let's look at, if we're supposed to be an arc, okay, and with no holes, and so we can actually go by 2 by 2, so we can create the new matrix, which equals 4, then what we have to understand is that if you look at the word war and ship, you're saying yes to being on the worship by worshiping money or worshiping your kids or worshiping that guru that you fell in love with last week because they've got a whole new modality, or even worshiping, the future. But every human has the worship gene. And so what we want to do is we want to take that worship and we want to connect to source. Not the favorite Palladian that we talk to. Okay, not the celebrity that we talk to from the beyond. But we want to communicate with source, not worship. We do not want to worship Mother Earth. We do not want to worship source because we are source. So it's these type of words that you don't even think that, like when you say, "Oh, I don't worship anything," right? Or if you look at the words, speaking them is consent. Okay? If you look at the word fine, how many times has someone said, "How are you?" and you say fine? Do you know the root etymology of the word fine means limited? So when they say, "I'm fine," you're saying, "I'm limited," and that's what your subconscious hears. So again, the more present you get in your body, the more you're going to feel before you speak, because you have the voice of God. This is the fifth element. How you're going to get out of this is through your voice. That's why I taught you guys to go here and then go here. Okay, before then we rise back up. So if you can start using the power of your voice correctly, all right, and looking at words, especially with the English language, because it's designed to create double-mindedness, okay, which in the Bible is a sin. All right, double-mindedness means that you're basically choosing both sides, okay, and you have one intention for speaking a word, but when you speak a word without knowing what the true definition of it is, you're also doing that in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind's like, "She said she's worshiping. She said she wants us to ski." That's consent. Okay, and maybe you guys are aware of this and you've been working on your language, but like this is one of the major things that I've been working on, because again, my gift is communication. So if I'm speaking words, right, that are actually spell casting myself or others, then that's automatic consent. And so I'm speaking a lot less these days, right? Because we're programmed. We're programmed to not even think about it. And one of the ways that I like caught onto this is I have a teenage son now, and they have a whole language that's just ridiculous. Okay. And so, okay, 6, 7, I know some of you know this, 6, 7, okay. And I'm like, this sounds ritual because it's the whole collective now of these little guys. Well, what is 6 plus 7? It's 13. What is 1 plus 3? It's 4. It's the matrix. It's a spell. They're casting. It's team 4. It's team matrix. They also say bet when something's good. I've started saying it too because I got to talk to my son somehow, right? When something's good, we say bet. Bet means to bait. Okay? Also, when a girl's pretty, it's fine shite. Well, I know what shite means in German, so, and fine means limited. And they're saying it because it's cool. And it's like Riz, okay? And they're making hand gestures like inappropriate. And no one knows what it means. It's just cool. But you have to understand that everything our kids speak is not coming from our kids. It's coming from a program that was leaked. And then an influencer that they paid to go viral to get every kid saying it so they can put it into the field as another signal. So the level of deception, you guys, is so much worse than I could even share. It's so much worse than I could share. Because the signal is coming from everywhere, including inside of you. The nanotechnology that's in the plastics, okay, is another signal. So those of you who have like been indecisive or perfectionists or still stuck in the martyr game, that's not coming from the outside signal, that's coming from the inside signal. That's making you pause and question your own authority, question your own intuition, question your own desires. So the signal isn't just coming from outside, especially if you're half aluminum. You've become the antenna. You can only get 3 channels out there. Even though you think you have access to infinite possibilities, when you can't imagine what New Earth is going to look like, that's because you're holding the antenna to the 3 programs that they're allowing you to see. And so this is kind of like a coming to Jesus like Q&A here for light workers, because if you can't contemplate with certainty that there is a world waiting for you where you already have everything and everything is awaiting you, is because you are programmed from the inside to need to know how it's going to look. If you cannot visualize that, if you cannot imagine that, if you aren't spending time already there, it's because you're not allowed, because you're connected to a signal. Okay? Everybody get this? And you have to manually break the signal, because the signal won't break just because you want it to. You have to manually break the signal with the Trinity points. You have to find the signal, which is spiritual. Then you have to emote it with a certain tone and frequency, because this whole game is put together through sound. This is why I created music. Okay, the whole game is held together through sound. Color is a sound, smell is a sound. That's why they got rid of your smell during COVID, because smell is actually connected to divine feminine. Okay, and hearing is connected to divine masculine. So they wanted to get rid of the smell so the feminine wouldn't wake up, because we smell like wolves. Okay, and if they can cut your smell, well, then now your perception is lowered and the signal can get in, and the feminine energy who's in charge of the emotional world is not going to be able to be in her power, because she's not going to be aware. Okay, and then the physical element, that would be the masculine grounding or the fire or the salt or whatever you're going to use there, that goes along the lines with the emotion, because it's like tone equals authority, right? And that's why when you get caught in the box, which is the number 4, right, and you don't have a Trinity, then you're constantly going from this reality to this reality, this reality to this reality, this idea to this idea, and you're in a loop of duality. Okay, and that's just what I want you to be aware of, because nobody can do it for you. You have to get so sick of starting to see where you have to have enough awareness to start to see where things are going, and actually be proactive with breaking the signal and facing those fearful flickers and regaining the flame. Because it's like, the way I kind of made peace with the spiritual warfare was it's putting me back into that warrior energy that I used to be in during the first war, right? Like, they didn't take us down easy in Atlantis. Okay, we didn't go willingly. So it's recalling some of that not masculine, but that feminine warrior spirit, like Anne was saying with the dragon. Like, knowing your authority in Christ, knowing your authority in source versus acting like authority are 2 different things. Okay, I don't need a Bible verse. I need my voice. I need a strong intention. I need the right tone, and I need some sort of element to ground it. And that is the only way I'm going to break full consent. Okay? Because again, if you aren't kind of setting intentions before you go to sleep, you might be making more contracts in the astral, because there's parasite brokers up there. It's like going down a seedy street and all of a sudden someone's like, "You want to buy a watch?" Right? So when you go up to the astral, there's going to be these parasite brokers that are going to be like, "Hey, you're really struggling with money right now, or you're really struggling with your health right now. Would you like this?" And if you're disconnected, right, you're thinking you're helping yourself by getting that quick advance loan. Okay. And what you're actually doing is refragmenting another part of yourself. And so you also have to have a lot of intention before you close your eyes, what emotion you're in, what tone you're in, what authority you're in right now. Because, like I said, this is war of the flood. The flood does not stop when you sleep. The flood gets worse in the astral, because the astral is filled with bodiless beings that want hosts. That's all they are up there. It's literally like it's like Beetlejuice up there. Okay, it's like they're excited that you're there because they can possibly host part of you. They can get down here. And if you're going through spiritual warfare and you don't understand spiritual warfare, you're going to think like God's mad at you. And God's like, "No, I'm not. I know who you are. And so I'm going to let all of the false illusion burn down around you and you'll become the flame." Because you wouldn't be under spiritual warfare if source didn't believe in you. You wouldn't. And you are divinely guided, because this is the game of chess. So it's not just, oh, evil, evil, evil. The other side of the word evil is live. So you have equal parts of true spiritual protection that use every negative as a detour, if you're paying attention. Okay. If you're paying attention, every act of spiritual warfare, if you looked at it through the eyes of how source would use the exact same thing that would happen to you, you could use it differently. But you've got to be aware, like, how would my higher self use this exact situation? Okay. And that's how I kind of came up with, oh, I'm actually defragging myself by having all these spiritual attacks, because I'm having to be so present. I'm having to regain my authority. Like all of the things that were designed to break me down. If you look at it from source, it's actually designed to put you back together and help you remember. Look at that word. It's to remember yourself. Okay, because again, we've been at this 26,000 year game, and now we're on a reconnaissance mission in this last section of the game to reclaim all of our fragmented parts, put ourselves back together, become the flame that becomes the ark that floats. Because think about it. If we have to build a whole new world from scratch, which we do, and we're not going to be relying on technology as much, we're not going to be relying, then do you guys realize how strong we have to be in order to like start from ground zero and build new schools, new everything? So do you think that source is also using what they're doing as a positive to see who can actually make it? You got to look at it from different angles here. And again, the more you unplug, okay, and the more you start to float, the more you start to see the game from up here, and you're like, this is very strategic. Okay. Consent is the only reason it got this bad. Because we're like, oh, yay, that's easier. Oh, yay, I don't even have to go to the grocery store. My food just comes to me. Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Wall-E? Right? That's one of my son's favorite movies. Everybody's like living above ground because they've destroyed the earth. There's like one little plant left, and they're all 600 pounds, and they're on these floating scooters, and they're watching screens, and they have no clue that other universes exist. Okay. That was a long time ago, that movie. All right. So we're just looking at, what am I giving away by still trying to succeed here? What am I worshiping? What language am I using? Am I working on becoming whole so my art can float, or am I still focused on getting something outside of me because I have a hole in my boat? You need to pay attention to that. Because if you're still focused on an outside experience, an outside piece of money, an outside adventure, then that part of you is outside of you. Because if you actually knew what was going on right now, all you'd be doing is calling everything home. That would be your only purpose. And then when you start to float, well, then that's when you're going to start to see how the new world's unfolding, and it will make a lot more sense why you had to leave this world. But you are going to have to leave this world and stop trying to succeed here and make money here and wake up people who don't want to be awake, that are under a signal. Okay? You can't wake up people that are under the signal that don't want to awaken. Okay? I don't have that many people in this Jedi Masterclass. And do you guys realize that right now, looking at the field, only 1% of you guys is going to the New World? 1% of you so far. Because a lot of you are still under the signal and you don't realize it. You're not choosing it on the surface, but your subconscious is choosing it. Your nervous system is choosing it because you're bleeding out. You're drowning and you don't realize you're drowning. Okay? And how you know how you're drowning is, what are your desires? That's how you know where you're drowning. If your desires are still to get somewhere, you're drowning. Your desire to be something and be whole and don't worry about getting anywhere, okay, you're floating. That means you cannot be in a prison. You have to align your prism, which means that source has to be flowing through every chakra. You've got to be, your root chakra has to have the same intention that your sacral, that your solar plexus has, that your heart has, that your throat has, that your third eye has, that your crown has. You can't be double-minded. It can't be I'm not and I am anymore. It has to be I am whole, right? I am provided for. I am the sun. Okay. I am love. I am truth. I am seeing the new world because I know. If that's not lined up, that's consent to go signaling. Okay. And that's all I've been teaching you guys, is to line yourselves up. It's so much more about color than it is about anything else, because your body actually speaks in color. It's like color television, right? It's like your body understands color as a frequency. So the colors you wear, the colors you see around you, it's all hypnosis. It's another form of the signal. If you've noticed, a lot of teachers have started to wear glasses that we don't need on YouTube. Haven't you guys seen that? Like, all of your favorite teachers are starting to wear, there's a reason why. It has something to do with the signaling in the eye when we're looking at a camera. It's reading a retina, and there are certain glasses that don't let you do that. So now you guys get to see all my cute glasses. Okay? Just one more level of this signal that I don't want to purify later. Okay? Every mirror in your house, you've given consent because you've had thoughts about something while you looked in the mirror that gave them your consent. Okay? Pictures hanging up in your house, clutter, consent for shadow energy. Okay? All right. So let's look at some of the other ones that you might be dealing with, because again, like, let's just take off the blinders here. All right. Let me make sure I got this. Yes. So what the notes were basically saying is when you are not going to source and you're still going to your favorite spirit guides or your favorite teachers online, and like for all of your feel goods or information, instead of going back to you, you're scrambling your own source connection. And that's consent. Okay. So this is where faith is going to be super important, especially if you're taking the advanced class, because we're going to start doing rituals based in letting everything go that's not from source. You would be shocked how much you currently have in your life right now that's brokered by darkness. Some of your money, okay, some of your free time. And when you start to let go of all the brokered stuff, what needs to leave will leave. And you're going to be riding on faith because source doesn't it's not a cash advance quick day loan with 80% interest with source. There's no strings attached. There's no karma. There's nothing needed for source except source needs to be the only thing because it can't block the signal of the game. You have to literally call it in and like laser focus on source when you can't feel source. You have to go past the chicken nugget light into the real sun if you want to connect with your real solar team. Okay, you got to go down past the first ground lever energetically if you want to get past the pesticides. So it's more effort to connect to source than just going, oh, source got it. Because that signal has been crossed energetically, emotionally, and chemically at this point. Because the nanotechnologies are the signals that they put in the parasitic inside of you. So the 4 signal distractions inside of your body. Okay, mold number 1. If you have a Wi-Fi, you're growing mold in your guts. Okay, so there's lots of things you can do about that. I'll take them into the decode class for the ritual of that. You guys can figure that out. Okay. Number 2, parasites. Okay, obviously heavy metals, and then nanotechnologies, which are digital parasites. So you got 4 interferences just inside of you. And your strongest ally right now is your gut. It is your root chakra. And that's probably where most of that is nesting because it is the biggest space of where clean source energy is delivered. Okay. And this isn't just a once a week thing. This is like spiritual hygiene has to become like the most important thing you do. Because, like I said, you're gonna, not you, but people are gonna go digital and they're not even gonna think that they're going digital. They're gonna think they're gonna go to the new world because don't you think that they have a fake new world set up for you guys? That isn't what you bargained for when you got there? Just like this place? This isn't what we bargained for. We actually thought we were going to be able to build something here and accomplish something here and truly help people here. And I do. I believe that certain voices and certain eyes and certain connections and certain gifts have sent signals into other people to help them awaken. But we never had the power to do what we thought we were going to do here. The only reason we are here as a flame is to tear down the grid. That's your only purpose here. You're never going to build something here. Because if you build it, you're going to build it with the system's consent because they have the authority. This is all in the Bible. Okay? We don't own the air. All right? But we do own the breath. And we can purify the air. So one thing I told the decode the mirror class is that when you smell something weird or you start to smell or you start to get the fight or flight, immediately your nervous system is going to start to contract because it's trying to not take that feeling or that smell in. You have to do the opposite. Okay? I don't care what you smell. If you do not take a full inhale and full through the nose and exhale through the mouth, you can't purify it and it actually becomes you. So if you go, oh, you just took it on. So the worst possible thing you can smell or feel, you want to breathe deeply in and blow it out because your body's a purifying system unless you hold your breath. See, these are not instinctual. That feels like wrong. But that's actually how the breathing purifies the whole system is by to follow through no matter what you smell. If you hold your nose like, or you start to contract because of fight or flight, you're actually taking the signal and you're jamming it into your nervous system. and now it becomes you. Okay? So there is a lot going on here that if you're still like learning a trade out there, you're oblivious to the real game here. Okay? And again, I was oblivious until I started going through the spiritual warfare. You know, I had other intentions on planet Earth for the new Earth, and it's all a lie. It's all a lie. And if you don't get those 4 creepy things out of your body, once the grid cracks, your body won't be able to survive the real nature that's behind the zoo wall. Okay, because you have adapted to the arsenigens and the poisons, and everything will just destroy your body from the inside because it can't handle that much light. All right. When you're fragmented, you think that you are whole, and that's distortion. So how do you know if you're not the flame? I'm going to give you guys some of and we won't go too far, but I'll give you a couple of those things that will demonstrate where the fragments are and how you can begin to call them back. And if they don't come back with just your voice, they're in a contract somewhere. Okay. And you're going to have to look at it like unconsciously, I signed this contract or agreement somewhere if this part is not back. Okay. So let me find my list. Okay, let me give you this other quick list before I forget. All right, some other ways that the signal is debunking source is, like I said, constant notifications. The beings, when hypnosis, we use snaps to get people into different fields. Every notification is a snap. You're changing into different mindsets every time you hear a ding, and that's intentional. Okay, so you might want to change that. All right, vibrating texts. That's a frequency that changes your timeline. Different frequencies in people's voices. People who are very low vibration, don't look into their eyes. Do not look into their eyes. I know you want to be like this wonderful person and smile at everybody, but if their field feels off, don't look into their eyes. Okay? Okay. Obviously, the double-minded language is one. Let's see. The electric lines outside that are vibrating and pulsing, even though you can kind of hear it, your body, your nervous system is like, okay. And then you mix that with everything else, right? It's just constant signal overload. That's why we're drowning. That's why we're in a flood. Okay. Pesticides in the foods, poisons in the clothes, wearing black outside, you're just calling in all the energy to your body because dark attracts light. Okay, getting hypnosisly lured emotionally through color logos on the roads and all the colors you see everywhere, that's intentional to get you to block your own flow. High traffic areas hold vibrations, the toxins in the water. Okay, so one of the things that they did, which is just super low ball, is they started grinding up all the cadavers and the dead and putting it into our water system, because if you know Dr. Emoto's work, water holds a signal. And so even if it's spring water you're drinking, it's holding the frequency of death, and death has a very powerful frequency attached to it. If you've ever done hospice work, there's a lot of energy there and it's very negative. So one of the things that you can do right away, no matter what you're drinking, and you might be praying over it, is remind the water that it's alive. Like, you are alive and you are source, because it's programmable. And what a beautiful thing we're doing for Mother Earth is we're putting water back alive. So even the water in your body, tell it you are alive, because they're putting dead water in there because they want you to be the walking dead. The signal is death. The language is death. Good morning, corporation, wake up. It's all teaching you how to death yourself. Okay, now the water is dead. And so when we drink it and we're 70% and we've got mold and parasites and nanotoxins and metals in our body, are we wondering why everyone's so sick? Okay, and we're speaking worship and success. We're giving constant consent here. Okay, you're eating wrong for your blood type. That is one thing that you want to understand about, like, well, everybody's going carnivore. Everybody's eating raw over here. That has everything to do with your blood type because you're aliens. Okay. Have you noticed that the people who are like, I lost 250 pounds eating carnivore are white? And the ones who eat all raw are melanin? Hello? Okay. You got to pay attention to who's promoting what in order for you. Now, if you're kind of like me, half and half, or Donna, half and half, like where you're like half tan, half white, okay, you have any Indian or melanin in your bloodline, then you could probably eat both. All right, and be fine. But you've got to know your blood type because, again, one of the data overloads and signal overloads is when you watch, this diet's working. Wait, this diet's working. If you don't know yourself, you're going to be so overwhelmed that you're not going to know what works for you. You're going to be visually lured by hypnosis to someone who looks the best, not what's best for you. Because remember, even all the influence, you guys, anything over a few million followers is all set up, by the way. And if you look at what they're teaching, they're not teaching what I'm teaching. They're teaching you something specific about trauma release, or I don't know, how to get clients. They're not teaching what I'm teaching. Okay, because I got shadow bans on all my stuff, even my new Facebook. I shadow banned on everything. And I'm like, I don't care. The people who need to find me will find me. This isn't what I do for money anymore, anyways, right? Okay, so how you prep your food. If you use plastics, we obviously know that by now. We got that one. Oh, one thing. I had to say goodbye to all my Gucci. I had to say goodbye to all my Louis Vuitton. Okay, because the brand you wear is consent. And if you've actually looked up the etymology of the word Gucci, you wouldn't wear it anymore. Okay, if you looked up the rituals that are ritualized over Louis Vuitton, you wouldn't wear it anymore. So you got to look at the brands that you're wearing as a form of like, it makes me feel good about myself. And then luckily my instincts have been telling me the last few years to like make my own clothes. And then I just have a boyfriend that likes to give me very expensive things. And so I had to be like, no, I don't want them. Because it's physical consent. Okay, what you wear is physical consent. If I'm like, oh, I don't want, I hit the Illuminati this, and I'm wearing Gucci, like, okay, you guys realize the red bottom shoes, why they're red? It's because they walk on the blood of children. That's what the red bottoms mean. The red carpet, you're walking on blood. That's a ritual. Okay, look at the word black male. Where do you think that comes from? Well, let's look at what the Ethiopians are. Ether beings. The melanated ones were the ones who were first black mailed because they're the ones that kept the sun inside of their body. It reflects off the white people. And so they're the ones that are remembering. It's all a setup. Okay? All right. What else we got here before we wrap? Okay, so how do you know where you're fragmented? Is your scattered desires. Okay? Because think about it. You are a being who has all different kinds of desires. And so you could be like, I really want to do this. Or I really want to do that. I really want. That means that you're fragmented. Okay? When you feel torn or pulled, you're fragmented. When you can't manifest something, one of your basic needs, that's probably a contract somewhere. Okay? Where are your unfulfilled desires? Addictions, attachments, counterintuitive behavior, okay? Conflicts, judgments, insecurities, still longing, grief, even if you try not to ignore, you try to ignore it, still patterns with shame, guilt, betrayal, and doubt. Doubt is a fragment. And belief, like what you believe versus like what you want to believe. You know, some of you still believe that money is going to come from outside of you. Do you want to keep believing that? Okay. I know by where I get attacked that there is a hole in my field that gives permission. Yep, exactly. And that lets you know that your arc has a hole. Okay, that's all it's saying. So you're going to then use source to cover that hole. All right, and that source, and you're in the decode class, so I'm going to show you guys how to bring all that back in. All right, okay. Just looking for the last list here before we wrap or take questions. Okay. All right. Are you still needing guided meditations? Because that's signal. If you're still using a third party to connect to source, it's a trap. Okay. Because think about it. If I need something digital to connect to source, it's a trap. So that lets you know that your fragment doesn't believe it can connect to source by itself. Or you're fragmented from your own intuition, or you're fragmented with your own connection to source. Just accept it and then go, let's prepare. Okay, because you can look at everything that you're doing out in the world to show you exactly where it's a flicker there, it's a flicker there, it's a flicker there, it's a flicker there. But if my flicker is owned by the system over here, and this flicker is owned by the system over here, this flicker isn't going to be strong enough to get me out of this. And you got to own it. Like, I'm flickering. I'm not flame awning yet. You will, especially right after this. Okay. You're waiting on something to happen for you. That's a fragment. Okay. You feel very weighted down and heavy. You feel like you're drowning. That's fragmented. Okay. You're still investing in the system. Okay. You're not investing in flame. Like, what does that mean? Okay. What does that mean to flame? Like I said in the last class, don't invest in anything, do anything that does not actually get you inside of yourself and whole. So you've got to look at where you're investing time, money, energy right now, because it actually could be making more holes in your vessel with a perfect intention. Like your heart is still in the right place. Okay. You've got to pay attention to this because that's a fragment that's over there trying to save the world when you're like, our boat is leaking. Okay. All right. You hate the system, yet you conform to it because you're afraid of prosecution. Really pay attention to this one. If you're afraid of prosecution, you don't have your flame yet. You're not flame on yet. If you're still worried that they're going to come after you. Okay. And I would really look at that one because that's the one that they like to use against you when you outrank them. You outrank all the angels, you guys. Your rank is way high, your source. So if you think, oh, if I don't pay my taxes, they're going to come get me, and that actually is a fear-based belief, that's a fragmentation. Because if you were in your flame, you would actually know the truth, and you would have authority over that. Your authority would be higher than the IRS by now if you were a flame. Okay? All right. If you're being a hypocrite, right? You're like, they're not going to go to the new world while you're doing what you're doing. Got to pay attention to that. Okay. You are unaware of your own distortion, right? This is a spiritual bypass. This happens through pride. We don't want to see where we are fragmented. Okay. We're still avoiding emotions. We can't sit with them. We're still eating them. We're still shopping them. We're still medicating them. That's fragmentation. That's a hole in your arc. All right. You're still playing the martyr somewhere, still being the people pleaser. Your voice feels blocked. Like, I want to speak, but nothing's coming out. That's fragment. Okay. You're feeling like you have a moldy root, which means you're having gut issues. All right. Heavy, dense energy or big bouts with fatigue. That's fragmentation. Allergies, infections, lingering illnesses. That's fragmentation. Okay. All right. Got all that. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys there, but I gave you the summation of, there's a lot more, but it's already 11:11. All right, so let's just be in this for a minute. And no, like I said, this isn't going to be sexy. There's no more dopamine hits. It's probably why some of you guys aren't here today. Like I can't feed the fragments. But I'm doing this in real time, you guys. I'm not studying this. This isn't coming from a book. And so everything that I'm giving you is from walking this and seeing this and not seeing it until I see it, not unpacking it until I have to unpack it, not, defragging myself until I have to, because I'm stubborn. So unless my life gets really uncomfortable, I don't do this work either. Okay. Unless something starts to go missing on me, I don't even pay attention. So I get it. And I had to sit and have my morning about how many people are unwillingly going to choose this. But it's just like us, you guys. Our parents signed a birth certificate for us, but had no desire to sell us. So we're going to make choices all the time like that and have no real like desire to entrap ourselves. But see, this is the end of this game, which means that if you don't finish this game, you have to go all the way through the next game. You don't get to just go, I changed my mind. You have to go 26,000 years and finish the game. Now, you'll probably be like Jesus in that game because you'll probably like figure out halfway through what's going on. But, this has been horrific, especially when you start remembering some of the other floods that you were in. Okay? Because this is just the same story from different elements. All right? We're all in Atlantis together. Okay? We all drowned physically. Okay? Then we burned to death. And then the mud came. Okay? And now we're like, this is fine because it's signal. It's the air. Okay? And that means you have to become the fifth element, which is ether. Because those are the four elements. You have to become ether in this game or you don't get out. And ether is source aligned, which means your seven chakras need to become white light. That means they all have to be speaking the same language, all at home, all in line, and there isn't anything else but source. Okay? Which makes it very simple. And luckily, Mother Nature gave us the most inexpensive and cheapest way to kill all the mold and all the parasites in the body. So that's easy. If you overcomplicate it, that's for fragmentation. It is so easy to kill parasites and so inexpensive to kill parasites that this is why that doctors don't tell you you have them. Because nobody would have cancers and tumors. Okay? It's so inexpensive and it's so easy as long as you're consistent. Okay? Like cilantro will get rid of heavy metals. Come on. How expensive is cilantro? You see, so again, the game isn't about you have to afford your way out of it. The game is, can you get smarter than the signal? And the only signal that is stronger than a million different signals coming at you at once all day long, even if you think you're in your quiet house, which you never are, is source. Source is the only thing that can cut through all of it. And you have to focus on source. It's like, I have to stay awake. I have to stay awake. Source, source, source. Like you might have to do that for a while. And then your spiritual warfare will start. And then all of your pieces are going to come home through the spiritual warfare. Okay. And if you're doing the advanced class, you're going to be sitting around weird candles doing weird stuff. And it's all your voice is going to start taking authority. Okay, but you've got to have authority in the spirit, you've got authority in emotion, and you got to have physical authority in this physical reality. Okay? You can't just have one authority because then they're going to just poke you until they piss you off, and then you'll become a flame. When you realize there's nothing else to lose, and if you don't flame on, you will lose your kids, and if you don't flame on, you will lose everything, that's when you go, I don't care. Maybe you're not there yet. But you know me, I'm always a pioneer. I'll go first because I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing another 26,000 years. I'm tired. Okay. If I have to go chop wood, carry water in the new earth and get ripped abs, but I'm in the real sun, bring it. Okay. I'm okay with it. But that's just me. All right. So this is the Coming to Jesus Q&A based on all of your questions I've gotten throughout the week. Those of you who are going to do the open channel class, I'm going to take you through kind of like how to tune in to source on Friday for you guys, like how to cut through the signal and channel source and let go of all your spirit guides right now and all of your astrology appointments and everything and just get your clear vision, okay, of source. Because even us tracking astrology right now, saying, well, I'm Gemini right now, is not source. It's the game. It's the wheel of torture. Okay. So we can even let that go again if we want to cut that signal. All right. And again, every middleman you can get rid of and connect directly is going to patch up a hole in your arc. But you are in the flood and you're either going to drown or float. So you have one more year of this. Okay. But if you start to float, even though the year is not over, it's such a different experience. Like when I truly stopped being afraid, because that's where that to me was like when I stopped being afraid. And the only reason I got stopped being afraid is because they took everything I was afraid of. So I had to actually face it. And I was like, well, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. So game's not over unless I'm dead talking to myself on another timeline. Maybe. I don't know. But this is what I have to say today. All right. And the rest of you I'll see on Friday. The other ones, you guys will be in the decode class. You guys are going to get the each chakra spell break. Okay. You're going to find out what contracts you've got. You're going to break them. And you're going to start to see the flame really be there at night before you go to sleep. First thing in the morning, you're going to just feel this power inside of you that doesn't come from the money in your bank. Okay, it doesn't come from what you're eating. It doesn't come from the safety of your house, because that's all false security that you actually don't own. And if you lean on money right now, or you lean on your house right now, or you lean on your partner right now, they are contracted into the signal. So you've got your body, you've got your mind, you've got your heart, you've got your chakras, and you've got your desires and connection to source, and you've got Gaia and all the elements and dragons and lions if you're a dude. Okay? All right. We're going to wrap here. And if you have any questions, please reach out. If you guys are the ones doing private sessions with me, I'm not going to force, I'm not going to insert, but I highly recommend that you start using your session to defrag. Okay, not ask questions about what's going to happen. Because if you were a flame, you wouldn't have questions. All your memory will return. You will remember every flood. You will remember everything. You will know what you have waiting for you in the new earth, and you'll know how to do it. But when you're a flicker, you have questions. Because the part of you that's connected to the system has the question. Okay? And it's okay, because I was too. And only life kicking my ass is getting me to this point. So it's not like I'm like some saint, but I had to do it the hard way. Okay. All right. I love you guys, and I will see some of you on Friday. All right. Bye.